Looking back, I rather made a rod for my own back when I welcomed the nickname, the People's Channel, initially humorously, since I tried to read a lot of your comments and take on ideas that suggested often, or receive lots of likes. The result is me being left with little option but to take on tricky ideas that suggested virtually every day like this one. Pep Guardiola is arguably the finest manager in world football right now, having won an incredible 27 trophies in 10 years of senior management, averaging almost a treble a season. In that time, he has managed a Barcelona team that is arguably the finest club side of all time, a Bayern Munich team that won the Bundesliga every season Guardiola was there, and a Man City team that has won 198 Premier League points over the last 2 seasons. It's probably needless to say then that Pep Guardiola has managed some very good players. In fact, he's virtually only ever managed very good players, and anyone who is, or was anything short of world class, stands zero chance of making this 11. It's worth pointing out that the 11 is based on ability, how good the player is or was, functionality, we want a realistic and balanced 11, and performances under Guardiola, not the player's career as a whole. Here is our combined Pep Guardiola best 11. Goalkeeper, Manuel Neuer. The 3 main goalkeepers of Pep Guardiola's managerial career are Victor Valdez, Manuel Neuer, and Ederson. All 3 were, or have been, excellent under the Spaniard, and all 3 are unsurprisingly very confident with the ball at their feet. Neuer is obviously the outstanding candidate though, spending all 3 of Pep Guardiola's seasons in Bavaria as the best goalkeeper in the world. Big and athletic, Neuer is the man who brought about this new era of sweeper keepers in the European game, and at his best, he was one of the most complete goalkeepers of all time. He made the FIFPro World 11 in every one of Guardiola's seasons at the club, as well as winning the World Cup and the Golden Glove of the 2014 World Cup with Germany. Right back, Dani Alves. As far as I'm concerned, this was the most difficult decision in this entire 11. Philipp Lahm and Dani Alves are probably the 2 finest right backs of their generation, and both among the top 15 of all time. Personally, I think Lahm is the pick of the 2, certainly defensively, but for a Pep Guardiola 11, I found it impossible not to go with Dani Alves. Signed by Pep Guardiola in the Spaniard's first summer in charge of Barcelona, Alves made 54 appearances and won the treble in his debut campaign, en route to becoming perhaps the most decorated footballer of all time. Quick and purposeful, good on the ball, accurate in the pass, and capable of putting a fantastic delivery into the box, Alves was the all-round attacking fullback/wingback. His finest attribute though, undoubtedly, was his link-up play in that Barcelona team. Alves was always on the same wavelength as those around him, and he was a key cog in that all-conquering Barca side. I feel absurd for leaving Lahm out, but I feel even dafter if it were the other way around. Centre-back, Carles Puyol. A one-club man, Carles Puyol was born in Catalonia, and he spent 19 years at the Camp Nou. Puyol was in the autumn of his career when Guardiola managed the club, aged 30 when he arrived and 34 when he left, but they were by far the most successful years of his career, and arguably the seasons in which he played his best football. Equally capable at right back, Puyol tended to operate as centre-back under Pep, where his experience and understanding of the game saw Barca through on many occasions. Puyol was fairly short for a centre-back at 5'10", but he was an absolute giant at Barcelona, and the Captain Fantastic has to make this 11. Centre-back, Jerome Boateng. This one will get a lot of attention and undoubtedly disagreements in the comments, but please recall what I said in the introduction about the 11 being based on a player's performances under Pep Guardiola. He may have fallen off a cliff since Guardiola left Bayern in 2016, but for the 3 years before that, Boateng was one of, if not the, best centre-back in the world. Smart, athletic, strong in the tackle, and really confident when striding out of defence with the ball at his feet, Boateng was the complete centre-back. There are some top-class centre-backs who will make the substitutes for this 11 and the honourable mentions, but these are the 2 that I feel should start. Left back, David Alaba. A good case could be made for Eric Abidal at left back, who was superb for Pep Guardiola and Barcelona up until his liver transplant in 2011. David Alaba is my choice though, who, like Neuer, arguably spent all 3 of his seasons under Guardiola as the best player in the world in his position. Alaba was just 21 when Pep joined Bayern, but he was already a regular fixture in the Bayern first team. He would reach yet new heights as a fullback under Guardiola, with his ability to both bomb down the flank or just come more centrally into midfield, depending on the pattern of play, suiting Pep down to the ground. Like Boateng, Alaba's form did suffer following Guardiola's departure, but unlike Boateng, he did look a lot more solid last season. Holding midfield, Sergio Busquets. A Pep Guardiola dream team without Sergio Busquets in it would be utter madness, and thankfully, I haven't fully descended into utter madness just yet. although I'm recording this at the height of the UK's heatwave whilst melting, so I'm probably not far off. The closest thing to Guardiola himself in a Guardiola team, Busquets, was promoted into the first team at Barcelona and made a first team regular as soon as Pep Guardiola got the top job at the Camp Nou. Such an intelligent and technically very underrated footballer, Busquets makes everything he does look very easy, but there have been very few players as effective as him in that role in the entire history of the sport. He is the brains of the operation and always capable of just sitting in alongside our centre-backs and letting Alves and Alaba do their thing. Central midfield, Xavi. Who else? In the middle of the park, we have the player who typifies the essence of Pep Guardiola's Barcelona era better than anyone else. As with a number of players, it wasn't like Pep unearthed a gem in Xavi, but he polished one in the most pristine fashion possible. The Spaniard had already been a first-team player at Barcelona for a decade, even spending 3 seasons playing alongside Guardiola between 1998 and 2001. He was a different animal in Guardiola's first season in charge though, topping both the La Liga and Champions League assist charts with 29 assists in all competitions, winning the Man of the Match award in the Champions League final, making the FIFA World 11 and coming third in Ballon d'Or voting. He continued in a similar vein over the next 3 seasons under Pep, firmly establishing himself as one of the finest midfielders of his generation, and his inclusion in this 11 is as guaranteed as it always was that Xavi would have a pass completion percentage in the 90s. Attacking midfield, Kevin De Bruyne. Pep Guardiola had such an incredible midfield at Barcelona that it's difficult for any Man City or Bayern Munich midfielders to get a look in, despite the fact that there are some exceptional ones, but the exception to that rule is Kevin De Bruyne. By no means a surefire thing, De Bruyne has only had 3 seasons under Pep, but his performances have been out of this world. The best player in the Premier League in my humble opinion when he's firing on all cylinders, De Bruyne can do it all. His positivity when he receives the ball, along with his vision and way of pass, make him a dream for Guardiola, but De Bruyne is also athletic, made the best crosser of ball in the world, and capable of scoring some tremendous goals. When fit, he's probably the only nailed-on starter for Man City, alongside Ederson and Aymeric Laporte, and arguably Fernandinho, and he starts through the middle for us in what is shaping up to be a laughably talented side. Right wing, Arjen Robben. Adding a totally different point of attack to this team, some people thought Arjen Robben might be too one-dimensional for Guardiola when the Spaniard arrived at Bayern Munich, but that wasn't the case. Robben, who retired this summer, is undoubtedly one of the finest wide players of his generation, and he averaged roughly a goal every other game over a 10-year stay in the Bundesliga. 2 of his best seasons came under Guardiola, making the FIFA World 11 and finishing 4th in Ballon d'Or voting in 2014. The Dutchman brings an injection of genuine width, pace and directness into this side, and there are more than a few players capable of playing balls in behind to him in this team. Left wing, Andres Iniesta. Andres Iniesta was equally brilliant on the left flank or through the middle under Pep Guardiola, and whilst I've said in the past that I preferred prime Iniesta through the middle, simply because it meant he could get on the ball more and make things happen, we're not sure of players who can do that in this team. Like Xavi, Iniesta was brilliant pre-Guardiola, but even better under him. Alex Ferguson described him as the player who made that Barcelona team work, and Iniesta made the FIFA World 11 for the first time in 2009, which would be the first of 9 inclusions. Brilliant on the ball and virtually unflappable even in the tightest of situations, Iniesta was such an intelligent footballer, and he has to be an obvious pick in this 11. Centre forward, Lionel Messi. Centre forward, withdrawn forward, striker, attacking midfielder, false 9, whatever title we give his position, Lionel Messi played the best football of his career and was at his most prolific, playing through the middle under Pep Guardiola. World-class strikers like Samuel Eto'o and Zlatan Ibrahimovic had to make way as Pep looked to build a team around the greatest footballer to have ever lived. In his 4 seasons under Guardiola, Messi scored 211 goals in 219 games, which is somewhat humorous since there have been some truly great strikers who haven't scored that many goals over an entire career. Guardiola managed Barcelona from 2008 to 2012, and Messi won the Ballon d'Or in 2009, 2010, 2011 and 2012. There ought to be no doubt that Messi would still have been among the finest players of his generation without Guardiola, and one could argue the Argentine was more important to the Spaniard than the other way around. But even as phenomenally talented as he is, I don't think Messi would have reached the earth-shattering levels of brilliance and genius on a football pitch had it not been for Pep Guardiola. The team, including substitutes. Whittling the bench down to 7 proved to be just as difficult as getting the starting side down to 11, and we start in goal with Ederson. It's harsh on Victor Valdez, who was excellent for Barcelona, and there isn't a great deal to split them, but I do think Ederson is a slightly better goalkeeper, and even amongst the great sweeper keepers, his audacity on the ball and accuracy in the pass is quite special. As centre-back, I have to go with Gerard Piqué, who is mightily unfortunate not to start. A brilliant centre-back who played as well last season as he did at any time under Guardiola, Piqué is the antithesis of what most would expect of a 6'4" centre-back. Positionally excellent, really good on the ball and measured in the pass, it's no wonder Guardiola brought him back to the Camp Nou in his first summer in charge. At fullback, having ashamed myself by leaving him out, I go a small way towards rectifying that by including Philipp Lahm. As much as it seems wrong for him not to start, Lahm is the ideal backup fullback since he was world class either right or left back. In holding midfield, we have Manchester City's outstanding enforcer Fernandinho. Fernandinho was already 31 when Guardiola arrived at the Etihad, and he was a very good player. I doubt many people, and I would certainly include myself in this, thought he had the potential to reach the levels that he has over these last few seasons though, at this stage of his career. Fernandinho has got better and better every season, and I think he was the best defensive midfielder in the world last term. Joining him is Manchester City teammate and arguably the Citizens' greatest ever player, David Silva. Silva had been at the Etihad for 6 years when Guardiola arrived, and the two always looked like a match made in heaven. Silva is a master tactician, technician, and passer of the ball, as well as having fantastic work ethic. He's not getting any younger at 33, but he's had 3 tremendous seasons under Pep already, and he was still the club's best player in some huge games last season, and he has to at least make the bench in this 11. Bridging the gap between attack and midfield, despite having played just 2 seasons under Pep Guardiola, I have to go with Bernardo Silva. The Portuguese magician was inspirational last season, with his craft and gal, cutting teams open at one end, and his tireless running and sheer tenacity, thwarting attacks before they'd even got started at the other. He is a classic Pep player, and at 24, it's possible he will only get better. Whilst picking Lionel Messi as our starting striker was the easiest decision in the world, deciding on his deputy was one of the hardest. There are at least 6 outstanding candidates, but I'm going to go with Sergio Aguero. Making it a very Manchester-centric bench, Aguero's future at the Etihad looked under threat following the arrival of Gabriel Jesus just 6 months into Pep Guardiola's tenure. He would soon put that kind of talk to bed though, listening to what Guardiola wanted from him, improving in every aspect of his game and remaining just as prolific as ever in front of goal. He scored 95 goals in 130 games over the last 3 seasons under Pep, and the club record goalscorer takes up the last spot on this bench. The calibre of player that missed out on both our starting 11 and bench is pretty ludicrous. From Victor Valdez in goal to Joshua Kimmich at right back, Emerick Laporte, Javier Mascherano and Vincent Kompany at centre back, and Eric Abidal at left back. Then there's Thiago Alcantara, who is brilliant for Pep at Barca and Bayern, Thomas Muller, Ilkay Gundogan, as well as players like Franck Ribéry, Raheem Sterling and Pedro, all of whom were at times virtually unplayable. The forwards are maybe the most laughable of all, with Samuel Eto'o, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, David Villa and Robert Lewandowski all missing out even on a place on the bench. That sounds ridiculous even to me, and I made the 11, but then, how can you leave out Messi and Aguero? There's just too much talent. To recap, our combined Guardiola 11 reads like this: Manuel Neuer, Dani Alves, Carlos Puyol, Jerome Boateng, David Alaba, Sergio Busquets, Xavi, Kevin De Bruyne, Ian Robin, Andres Iniesta, and Lionel Messi, with a bench of Ederson, Gerard Piqué, Philipp Lahm, Fernandinho, David Silva, Bernardo Silva, and Sergio Aguero. Thank you all for watching. If any of you know Pep Guardiola, please do ask him his own selection as his best 11. It'd be interesting to see how it compared. That's all from me. Do give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you would like to hear from me again in the future. Oh, and obviously also turn on notifications.